What's that? It's been 2 years since we started Time to Calibrate? Nah, can't be. Oh, hi. It's Brent, Bob, and Mark. Thanks for tuning in, and thank you for coming along our journey. I just sounded like Dan the Man there for a second. How are you guys doing this morning?
Good, man.
Not bad at all.
It's hard to believe, really, that it's been 2 years. It's also strange to think about it and how our show's evolved over all that time. When we started, we barely had a concept. We knew the three of us would work well together, and that started off the show with just three old dudes talking about watches and morphed into a long form interview show. I know. It's. We've harped on this before, but who would have thought we'd have this many wonderful guests? The only ones that have been on multiple times is Dan Mann and Jason Hutton. Everyone else has been a one-shot wonder so far. Probably have others, come back at some point, but it's been pretty impressive that we've had so many guests. Anyways, let's get on with it with the wrist checks. What's on the wrist, boys? Brent, what do you got?
Actually, this morning I am wearing my Oleg and Weiss. I say mine. It's not really mine. It actually belongs to the brand owner, Charles Le Menestrel, but it's a 1967 Astrochron from Oleg and Weiss. It runs the Valjoux 72. It is. I've just been wearing it day after day. I took it out the other day for a photo shoot when I was at Daniel Wang's new Dravana store, car dealership rather, and I've been wearing it ever since. I love it. Like the size is just fantastic, and I've been looking for that really quintessential racing chronograph, and this kind of ticks the box actually. Yeah,
They would look pretty cool on one of those leather straps with the holes in them. The
Rally?
racing
Like the
yeah, I
rally
guess
strap?
rally
yeah,
strap.
absolutely.
I think it would look pretty cool on
It
that.
would fit that absolutely, and I think it's amazing, Mark, to hear you say something would look good on a strap.
No, look.
Seriously.
The growth, the personal growth.
No,
over the
no, no, no,
last
no, no,
year.
no, not much growth here. Let's not fool people. I think they look good on straps. Nothing, no problem there. I won't wear them because it's not comfortable.
What about you, Bob?
I am wearing the Gin Clear Mark II from Second Hour Watches. It had kind of the Canadian color theme, so I got it just the day before. I sized it up, and I've been wearing it ever since. I'm actually doing some content creation for them, some reels and posts for their Instagram, so I have almost their full collection here in the house, and I just have to show Brent, especially maybe any of the camera guys out there. I made a purchase. I told Brent I switched over to Fuji from Canon recently, and we were talking about lenses. Got it, the 80 millimeter macro, and
That's
this
the
thing
one.
is sweet, dude. It is. I have not done a single post with it yet, but there's going to be lots of good stuff coming. That's a really good lens.
Yeah,
So
you won't
about
regret that.
Yeah.
Are you going to have that collection for the Elon Solutions things, or is it going
Yeah.
going back?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's going to be the plan. I'm sort of talking to them about that, and why not? They're going to be here anyway. So, and they have a bunch of really good watches. Like
They got a lot of SKUs.
yeah.
Nice stuff.
What about you, Mark?
Yeah. So the other day I was YouTubing, right, just flicking around YouTube, and stumbled on Mike Holt's new post about the new Grand Seiko diver. And the way that he talked about Grand Seiko made me re-evaluate my Grand Seiko, and I've been wearing it ever since. So I'm wearing my SBGE 257 Grand Seiko Spring Drive GMT sports watch, and he waxed poetically, and you know how Mike is. He's very eloquent and well spoken, and just really gushed about that dive watch and how Grand Seiko makes watches and what goes into them and all that stuff. So yeah, I've been wearing it ever since. I recently got my Finn Dyson back, and I've got that Serica recently, and I'm wearing my Grand Seiko. Go figure.
Yeah, for me, Grand Seiko was one of the home runs from Watches and Wonders this year, especially their divers. But it's so funny because my son Mateus, he came up this morning and he said, "Have you seen that cherry blossom Grand Seiko?" I mean, I think that people who are just discovering that brand, I mean, they're in for a wonderful ride as they sort of dig in. But that's a beautiful watch, Mark.
No, I love it. If I can just find a way to get that new clasp. I don't know if you've seen the new ones on the
Yeah.
Evolution 9. I don't know if it won't fit, but I'm pretty sure I can make it fit. So I want one real bad. I don't care how, even if it's $1,000, I'll find a way. I think that's the only thing that this watch needs. The bracelet itself the links are so comfortable. They're so well finished. They're rounded on the edges. It's great, but the clasp itself needs upgrading. It's super comfortable and thin, so that's great. But it's just I want that thicker gauge steel and a nicer, to go along with everything else on the watch.
Right.
So we've just, if people have just started listening, you might have not seen or heard all of the names that we've had come up on our. The guys are smiling now because they know what's coming. Yeah. So what I was thinking of doing is to run through the list of everyone that's been on the show very quickly, similar to what Nelly does before a Wind Up New York. She'll list all the brands, the 150 brands that are showing up at the show, and she'll go as fast as she can through the list.
I'm expecting like Eminem speed here. Like,
yeah, Eminem probably not. But you know me, I stumble on
lyrics.
I already stumble on words all the time, so this is gonna be fun. So here we go. We're gonna start with the first one, which is Mike Pearson. So here we go. Mike Pearson, Jason Hutton, Ricky Damon, Andrew McLean, Jody Musgrove, Stephen Parker, Zach Weiss, Dan Mann, Chris Sally, Errol Adams, William Messina, RJ Broer, Alexander Voin, Marshall Sufbith, Adam Kraniotis, Lucy Kapitanovich. Oh, I got that off. Felix Wallner, Jose Miranda, Richard Page, Rico, Mitchell Wine, Jose Sermano, Sam Messiha, Andrew McCutcheon, Randa Reish, Roland Murphy, Huey Tang, Roger Ruger, James Crichton, Russell Emmons, Mike Holst, Henrik Rye, Cat Shoulders, Matt Smith Johnson, James Fournier, Andy's Watches, don't know his last name, Michael Friedberg, and Rob Anderson.
Not too bad.
Not too bad. Well, there's a lot of people. And you know what? A mosquito just flew into my face while I was talking. But yeah, it's been quite the journey and been a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
So that was a mouthful. Brent had an idea about what we can do next. So Brent, it's all yours. Go for it.
Yeah, first of all, I do hope, if you're new to the show, that you take the time to go back and listen to each one of those wonderful guests. Like, I have to shake my head sometimes because when I think about some of the big names in the watch industry that have been here and that have taken the time to connect with us, and then through us connected with all of you listeners, I'm just shocked. And what you don't hear, for example, as a listener, is our reaction once the mics go dead. So many times we have lit up our group chat afterwards with, oh, what a great guy, or, oh, she was so awesome. But my favorite has to be, I think that was the best show yet. and that's the thing. These great people enabling us, they are enabling us to have a great time every 2 weeks on a Friday morning. So let me just say on behalf of all of us, we're truly grateful that they have taken that time.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, so for today's show, we wanted to do a hostful episode so that we might reflect a little on what has happened over the last 2 years, but also just to talk watches. So for the first half, we're each going to pick 2 highlights, one for each of the years that we've been broadcasting so that we can just reminisce a little bit about those things. And also to celebrate the coming year, which is year 3, we thought we'd each build 3 watch collections. Are you with me still? So the first collection must remain around under 5K. Canadian. That's Canadian dollars. This is a Canadian show after all. And the second under 10K. And then for the third, we throw caution to the wind and the sky's the limit. This is where we can dream big. And then of course, we'll finish up kind of ruminating on some questions we have for each other and then also from our listeners. So let's dig into some highlight picks. You want to go, Bob?
Yeah. So things were a little rough around their edges, the first little bit. We didn't really plan things out maybe like we should, and we were learning the ropes. But the first time where I had the feeling we did a really good job here was with Mike Pearson. And he was such an awesome guest. He's such a great guy. We've all met him many times now and in person. Awesome fella. But I remember thinking afterwards, wow, we did a really good job. And then listening back to it, I'm like, wait a sec. Mike did all of the work here. We did nothing.
I was going to say.
Yeah. So it felt really good at the time, but there was still much more learning to happen after that show.
Yeah, that Mike Pearson episode, I was in Greece when that dropped.
Yeah.
Remember, we recorded it and then I flew off to Greece and I listened to it because Brent, you were the one editing it at the time. So I, only heard it in real time, right? So we were in Greece, we were jet lagged, and we were taking a nap in the afternoon to try to catch up to the time difference. And I listened to that episode, and I remember just lying there with a big giant smile on my face because, like you said, with Mike, all you just have to wind him up a little bit, and just boom, he takes off with amazing stories. And
yeah.
And he
Yeah.
was actually our first real guest. I mean, we had that gentleman from Omega Timekeeping, but that wasn't really a guest of ours. That was a thing that Brent, you did for the Calibrate wrist that we incorporated in the show. But Mike Pearson was our real first guest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, there are interviewers that put people at ease, and then there are guests that put people at ease, and that's totally Mike. Like you say, he just takes the reins, and he's very thoughtful. He's super well spoken, and he was a delight to have on the show. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, for sure. So another highlight for me, my second one, is I like to talk to the other podcasters. We've had a few of them on now, and most of them, they have their hands maybe in a few different things. But one of the interesting ones that made me realize how much prep you really need to do is Andrew McCutcheon talking about the About Effing Time podcast. Like, that podcast always sounded so natural and so like off the cuff, but it was heavily produced, way more than we are or ever will be. But it was kind of neat. I really, that was a highlight, listening to him talking about the About Effing Time podcast. He was a really good guy too. I'd never ever spoken with him before that day. But yeah, he was a highlight guest for me for sure. He was entertaining on a bunch of different levels, but it was really neat to hear their process for the podcast.
I actually went back and listened to every episode, and of course, there's the visual version that they have on YouTube. But I listened to it as I was driving, and you don't miss anything. Like they were a fantastic show. They were contentious, but you know, they clearly had their sort of talking points in advance. And you know what, he had, just as a guest outside the podcast, I actually probably learned a lot from him during our interview.
Yeah, the strange thing with Andrew McCutcheon, I think it was a turning point for us in a way that he was one of the longest interviews we had done up until then. And then that point on, we started doing longer form stuff.
Yeah.
And I think because Andrew is always turned on, right? This show About Effing Time and the previous show, highly scripted, and he's playing a character, right? We saw a little more than the character in our interview, I find, because we spent almost 2 hours with him. And he sort of, you know, we had him pause and think and come with, you know, because we threw questions at him that were from left field that he wasn't used to getting all the time. And I think that's what really changed our show. We started doing longer form stuff, adding more depth in our conversations. And then we started getting better at interviewing people and going with the flow with the conversations of the people. I think we owe Andrew not only the advice that he's given us in the amazing episode, but that show really helped us move forward, I think.
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
Yeah, so I've got two as well here. Mine are a little more personal. Richard Page was one of my favorite episodes. You have to understand that, you know, when I was in my early 20s or mid 20s, when I discovered Time Zone, Richard Page was incredibly influential in the development of my writing, encouraging, in the collecting knowledge, the sharing, the building. No other person we can point to that has done more for micro brands, influencers, the communities, the collectors, everything that we do online now, we owe thanks to Richard Page. Someone else probably would have done it too, but we're talking when it was the Wild West in the mid early 90s, when everything was just starting, and he was, you know, button heads with the brands because we were putting up reviews that brands didn't like, and the PR, and we owe everything to him. Honestly, everybody should thank Richard Page. And the beauty is, we interviewed him in July last year, and then just a week or so later, I was in Los Angeles at Minutes and Hours manning the Isotope booth, and Richard Page walked up to the booth as a coincidence. He would just happen to be attending the show, and Richard, and we started talking. His family was there, and like, it was really nice to see him in person, shake his hand, and thank him for being on our show. The other one is very similar. It's Roland Murphy. I've known Roland going on almost 30 years. He's always been a great friend to me. I've always known that he was very kind and very generous. I didn't know he was going to be that funny.
Yeah.
And, you know, and generous with his time in explaining how he got started and the machinery and what's involved and the stories. I mean, him too, just like Richard Page started with equationoftime.com back in the day, the early communities, and him trying to reach out and speak to collectors directly, and building things. And if it wasn't for him, collaborations, I mean, sure, there'd probably be collaborations now, but it really started with RGM. I mean, the first collaborative watch that I can think of was a Time Zone RGM watch. It was a Time Zone TZ branded RGM 107, I think it was the model, if my memory serves me. And then there was Minerva did one too, but this was like really early stuff, and Roland was there from the very beginning and shaping what we've become, and he's a dear friend. I really appreciate him coming on our show.
He was another one of those easy ones where
Yeah,
he
wind
did
him
the
up,
heavy
let him go.
lifting.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it was really
he
fun.
was great. Yeah, I liked Roland a lot.
For me, I think my first choice was RJ Brewer, actually. Partially because like we sit in similar positions, maybe at different scales or at different levels, but we do a similar job. And so just hearing his take on the industry was really, really helpful for me on a personal level. But also, this is probably the greatest illustration of something very interesting about this podcast, and that is that sometimes you sit down and before things start, you chat a little bit with the guest, and then after the mics go dead, you chat a little bit with the guest, and it's almost made me realize that we should just have a hot mic the entire time, because he told us a story at the end that we thought, oh, how could we not have put that in? It was about the I guess the Alaska or the Omega. And
Yeah, that was yeah.
We eventually sort of like revealed that story on a future episode, but it would have been really cool just to hear him tell it. And that also taught us, I think, something else, which is that when you're under fire, when you know the mic is on and you know that you're supposed to perform a little bit, there's a bit of tension even for the guest. But as soon as that's off, suddenly you realize, oh my goodness, this is like now we're just chill and we're talking a little bit about things, and there's no pressure. In fact, Bob and I experienced the same thing with Rob Anderson, I think, because we were in the interview and in the thick of things, and I didn't want to be jarring, but I wanted to get back to this one particular story about Rolex, who was hiring extras to show up at this Beijing launch and that sort of thing, and we could only talk about it after the podcast was over. But yeah, so RJ sort of really, he taught us that, man, we got to be recording all the time. But
if I can just interject,
yeah,
I think that you're 100% right about the nerves and the very beginning. And oftentimes in podcasts, when guests come on and they're only on for 15, 20 minutes, you never get past that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And the fact that we go on long with guests, eventually they forget the mic's rolling and it's just us chatting.
Yeah.
I think that brings out a lot of juices.
I still get nervous ahead of podcast, depending on the guest, especially. But like somebody like RJ is like, holy cow! Like I've been, been reading his stuff and knowing about him for so long, to have him sort of have his ear, for a couple hours is a bit nerve wracking at first. But so far, like there hasn't been a guest that you don't settle in after a couple of minutes.
I've been lucky enough to know these people for a long time before they were who they are.
Mm-hmm.
We were all just dumb collectors, and we're all young and stupid.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been lucky that way. I still get nervous talking on mic. I still stumble on words all the time. But hey, it wouldn't be me if I didn't do that, right?
So my second pick actually kind of illustrates what you just said, Mark, which is that, the longer you go, the more you get to know the person. Maybe that sort of that persona, or that on-screen or that on-camera persona slips away. And that was Mike Holst, actually, this watch, that watch. I mean, he was already one of my favorite YouTubers, and to call me YouTuber is almost like it denigrates what he really does, because he's just so incisive and so intelligent and so thoughtful and so beyond hype that to call him an influencer is maybe to belittle what he really does. But that being said, on the show, he just gave us such intimate details about how he really feels about watches, about collecting, etc. And so for me, once the sort of the mics went dead there, I thought, wow, that was a great interview. He's so good, and I hope that everybody, if you're going to pick a podcast to listen to, go back and listen to Mike, because he'll teach you more about watches in those 2 hours that we had him than you'll get from weeks and weeks of watching other people.
Yeah, I agree. He's also one. If I had a third one of my picks, that would be the Mike Holtz interview. If you watch his videos, even when he's plugging himself, like hit the smash and reply and blah blah blah. He does it in a funny way.
It's a joke. Yeah, it's
It's a joke, and he incorporates it in the video as part of the flow. I mean, he's brilliant in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah. So those are our highlights for today. And you know what? For me, I'm sure it's the same for you guys. They were sort of hard to pick. Like, and I'm glad,
Yeah.
Mark, that you had put that list together originally, because just going back over the 2 years, that's a lot of airtime. That's a lot of podcasting. And so just to see the names, I was sort of smiling as I was going through them, and I almost felt bad to have to sort of pick. But it's interesting that all of our picks were different.
Yeah.
This time we didn't actually sort of stumble over each other on choosing. So it just shows you the breadth of what's there.
And you think that's a lot of recording? We're going twice a week starting next year. Just kidding, listeners. We're not doing that.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to go to celebrate a little bit the coming year with our three watch collections. And just to remind you, the first one is under 5K. The second one is under 10K, and then sky's the limit for the third. So I think maybe what we'll do this time is sort of start with under 5K. We'll each do it. Then we'll roll on to 10, and then we'll do sky's the limit at the end.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. So for me, let's see. I found actually the 10K the hardest. The 5K for me was actually pretty straightforward. I knew that I was going to want a diver and a chronograph in every single collection. And then the third watch was going to be, something a little bit different. So for me, I spent most of my buck in the diver category, and I chose the Marathon OSRD. There's so much watch in a marathon diver, and when you take a look at the prices, yes, they're growing, they're getting up there as well. But the OSRD is in Canadian $28.75, and I think that's a really good price for that level of watch. I've seen that watch listed in like a Rolex Submariner Alternatives, and what I really like about it is there's a military history that's there. And there's a sort of like the first responder stuff. And so it's got a lot of authenticity to it.
And it's Canadian.
It's Canadian, and it's not a desk diver. So that's where I spent the majority of my money. The Marathon OSRD, I would be very, very happy if that were the only diver that I had in my collection. The second choice is going to be a little bit of out of left field, because I wanted to have a chronograph, but it's difficult to under 5K fit in a really good chronograph at the automatic or mechanical level, and then also a diver. So I went Mecha Quartz, which is a little bit odd for me, but I went with Furlan Mari, the Castagna. And Furlan Mari, it doesn't matter what's on the inside. It's what's on the outside that really matters. They make beautiful watches. In fact, I had a hard time just on that page where they have maybe only 4 or 5 Mecha Quartz chronographs at the moment, and I was like going back and forth between each of them. But finally, the sort of classical 1930s colorway of the Castagna really got to me, and I thought, if I were only going to have one chronograph, I think this would be it. It isn't the racing chronograph that I usually hunt for, but it also could double kind of as a bit of a dress watch in a pinch, and so I went with that. And then for my final choice, well, I need a beater. My lifestyle needs something that's going to allow me to, cut trees, use the chainsaw, mow lawn, all those fun things. And so I chose the RZE UTD 8000, and it's the one I have. Like, it's the CKG. That's that Cerakote model. I used to really like the negative display one that I owned, but I traded it in for this one. It would be tough to live without that watch. I wear it quite a bit, actually. So those are my 3.
Yeah.
What about you, Mark?
Okay, so unlike most people, I don't care to have a dress watch at all. So I don't think any of the picks of anything that I chose today are dress watch related. I am ambivalent to chronographs. I like the look. I never use it. I never use the function. Just so why spend the money on something that you're not going to use? So my choices are mostly sport watch related. So for my under 5,000. The first watch where I spent the most of the money, or just about half, is the Seiko SPB 381. It's the green 1968 Heritage Diver GMT, which has the Marine Master style case, the new bracelet with the new clasp. I think that's a great watch. It's green. It looks a lot like my Grand Seiko, so I wouldn't be missing my Grand Seiko if that's the only 3 watches I had. And yeah, it's a great all around watch. 3 days power reserve, accuracies they've worked on. Yeah, that's my first one. Second one is way out of left field. I don't think you guys are going to see this coming. It's the Timex Atelier GMT M1.
You're right. I did not see that one coming.
No, have you guys seen these in hand?
Yes.
Not in hand, but
I saw them at Wind Up last year in New York, and I was thoroughly impressed. Like they really, I mean, $1,950 Canadian for a Timex, a lot of money for a Timex. But we say that about certain Grand Seikos, not Grand, yeah, well, Grand Seikos, yeah, a lot of money for a Seiko. We say that for G-Shocks, for the steel ones and so forth. But this really is a premium Timex, and the finishing is outstanding. The bracelet that you can adjust without tools, it is just a really spectacular looking watch, and it is kind of dressy-ish. Like it would go like great.
Yeah.
It's really well done. And then my third watch is the RZ UDT 1000. I just got mine recently, and I would choose the one that I chose. It's the yellowish LCD display.
that's the one I have. I think we have the same one.
We have the same one, but I have it
Yeah.
on the bracelet, obviously, because
Yeah.
bracelet. First of all, that bracelet is phenomenal. Like there's no like no tossing that aside. I mean, it's an amazing bracelet. Micro adjust all that stuff. Tapers a super like to 16 millimeters or something. It's really a phenomenal watch. Um, Not as accurate as the G-Shock though. I mean, the G-Shock that I have, the Square, is Bluetooth, so it syncs with satellite every night. So obviously it's gonna be bang on, right? But the RZE is like gaining 5-6 seconds a week, which is surprising for quartz. Doesn't really matter, but anyways, that if I need a like you mowing the lawn, I work at a wildlife conservatory on the weekends. You know, something that I can beat around and not care about, and not that I don't care about the watch, but don't care that it gets scratches. It's going to be hard to scratch because it's coated with the special anti-scratch stuff. So perfect watch for that. So my total for all three watches was $48.55. So $21.50 for the Seiko, $19.50 for the Timex, and $7.55 for the RZE UDT 8000 on bracelet.
The RZE is my most worn watch right now, but you guys pulled a huge rookie move, man. G-Shocks and digitals don't count. You could have picked 3 and still had the digital, man.
Well, no, Bob, that's how high we place RZE. We put them in the category
That's
that
true.
counts.
That's true.
You see,
So-
Huey won't like that you said they don't count. Like we make sure that Huey understands that we appreciate and it counts for us.
All right. Well, I'm gonna have 4 watches in my collection.
Cheers.
So I kind of went with the same line of thinking as Brent. I think I have a chronograph and a diver in each of my three watch collections. But my first pick, and some of these were pre-owned pricing. I found a Zinn 104 locally for $1,600. That would be a rebuy for me. I always loved that watch, and it was like the ultimate. And Mark wouldn't care, but it's the ultimate strap monster. It just looks so good on leather. NATO, it doesn't matter. So that's one that I watched that I missed, that I was very heavily in the rotation a few years ago. And there's a second one. I've owned probably maybe 10 different Seiko turtles over the years, and I do not own one. And I've been missing having a turtle. Jamie from Newfoundland, he's been kind of sending me pics and stuff. And I'm like, man, I need to get one of those again. Just the regular SRP 777 black dial, $450.
That was my rabbit hole watch, actually, 2017 or somewhere around there. That was the one that made me just do this deep dive into watches. So yeah, that was the entry level drug for me.
Yeah, it was for a lot of people. That's kind of got me into Seiko, that particular watch. And then the last one is where I spent the bulk of my money, and that's the Hanhart 4170 ES, and I found one for $2,800 on Chrono 24. There was a couple sort of in that range, but mine came to $48.50 Canadian dollars. Zinn, Seiko, and Hanhart, all under $5,000.
Great choices. Yeah, absolutely.
I agree.
Okay, so now we got $10,000. Now I said earlier that this was the toughest category for me. I don't know what it was like for you guys. But
I agree 100%. The hardest one.
You were sort of going upward with what you wanted out of a watch, but then like because of the climbing prices of watches, you realize like I wanted to put the Longines Spirit Pilot Flyback in this category. but that's already $7,250.
Yeah, I did worse than that.
Like it's really tough to squeeze in two other really good watches at that point. And then do I put that in the sky's the limit? Well, there's other chronographs that maybe belong in that category. So some watches that I really love got kind of left off one of these three lists. So I went with the Serica 5303 here. And I probably could have gone with used prices, but I full price.
We did full prices, Bob.
Yeah.
We didn't cheat and go pre-owned.
Honestly.
Yeah.
And then you add a fourth one. So that's about $2,600 Canadian.
Which one did you get? The 53?
So I really like the brand new one, the one that is kind of like that's going on the Arctic trip. The
one with the date?
Yeah.
That's really 5330, and that's more expensive than 2600.
Yeah. Sorry. Then it's not that one. It's 5303-1. So it must be the sort of charcoal dial, dark dial.
Yeah, there's a black one with a shiny black bezel.
Yeah.
Then there's a blue one with a faded.
And I do love that blue one. I went back and forth on that, but I went with the black in the end because I wanted something that kind of just I could wear every day with anything. And so that would be my everyday watch in this particular category. And then I went with the Straum Jan Mayen Arctic Blue.
That new white one that came out. Oh my God.
Oh boy, the new one is also really fantastic. These are also about 2,600 Canadian dollars. But I just love like the innovations that they have, and the clasps and the straps and the way the bracelet attaches, etc. And then of course there's the dial. I feel in a way you're getting like Grand Seiko level of dial for such a bargain price. And of course only a watch enthusiast can call $2,600 a bargain price, but that for me would be a wonderful also everyday watch. But you could dress that up, you know what I mean? That's something that if you wanted to go, you could have that. That's a beautiful dial. And then of course my chronograph. Now I'm going to pull a Bob here, but honestly there are two that I just go back and forth. It's either the OW, so the Olek & Weiss chronograph, which to me just has so much history. They've been making chronographs for so long. It comes in, and it also has a 12-hour bezel, which is what really made me think, okay, hey, that could double as my kind of GMT, quote unquote, kind of watch. But it's about $4,400 Canadian, and that puts me in just under 10K. And then the other one is the Hanhart. It's the 417. And so between those two, it was just it's a toss up. One definitely has more of the sort of motorsport vibe, and the other one is more of a pilot vibe. But for under 10K, either one of those would do for me. And I'd be very happy actually with those three watches as a be all end all collection, actually.
You, Mark?
Yeah. So for my 10K, like you, Brent, this was the most difficult one because it's enough to get what I really want, but then you got to play with whatever's left over, which is not a lot.
Exactly.
And what I really want is a Tudor Pelagos Ultra on bracelet. Well, it only comes on visit, and that's $8,540.
Yeah.
When the heck did that become an $8,500 watch?
I know.
I mean, that's nuts. But knowing me, I'd probably just wear that, and the other two would be side pieces. and one of them has to be something I could wear at the Wildlife Conservatory and mowing the lawn and doing rough stuff, and that would be the RZE UDT 8000 that we talked about earlier. So now that left me with just under $700 left, and I wanted something fun, that's not a dive watch, and I chose the Vario 1945 D12 field watch.
Oh, that's an interesting choice. That is an interesting
choice. It's only $632 Canadian. I mean, it's an absolute bargain. And it's a cool, fun, very different looking watch than the other two. And that comes up to $99.27 as a total price. All new watches, Bob. Not pre-owned stuff here.
I screwed that up. I totally screwed that up.
No, you know what? Anyways, I'll get to why that's okay later. But that's my 10,000.
For my 10,000, my 10,000 and Sky's the Limit, there's actually a little slight crossover with some of your guys' picks.
Oh, my Sky's the Limit is wild, man.
mine's pretty fairly tame, but I actually put in that new Strom Frozen Metal Titanium. I think it's $36.50 Canadian new because there is no pre-owned.
It's absolutely stunning. It is.
Man, that is
There's
a good looking watch.
you know James Fournier, our friend that was on our show recently.
Yeah.
He bought the red one at the
Yep.
Montreal Timepiece show. He just
I
got
was
it
there. Yeah.
last week.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I didn't pay tons of attention to them at previous shows, and then got to know one of the owners in Montreal and spent a lot more time with the watches. And I'm like sold, man. I'd love to have one. I will have one of their watches at some point in time.
You know
But
what?
yes,
Just on Strom real quick. Well, they were at the Vancouver Timepiece show last year.
yeah,
And they were across from Christopher Ward in a little corner on this next to RZE. And they were quiet. They had one little strand of like 4 watches, and they were very timid. And I perused them. I saw them because I knew about the brand. I think I wrote about them on Warner Wound or something. I don't remember. And I got to see them. It's fine. Yeah, whatever. But at the Montreal Timepiece show, one of the owners was there. Not timid, not shy, funny as hell.
yeah.
And he was right next to my booth. So he and I got along really well. And then I got to play with the watches much more. And they had more selection now, right? They had more stuff. So yeah, I'm in love with the brand. Like I can see myself owning one at some point. Sorry, Bob, I interrupted you.
Yeah, no worries. So I have the new frozen metal titanium. I think it's 3650 new. Then the next one is a chronograph that I've wanted for a long time, and it's sort of on the radar, off the radar, but it's on the radar right now. The Damasco DC70 chronograph. It has the central seconds.
Oh yeah.
So everything's all on the central, 4 hands all on the central hand stack. Love that watch. I love Damasco. I'd need one. I think I've had 3 or 4. I don't have one in the collection right now, and they're an awesome beater watch. The same thing with the steel, like RZE. Theirs is ice hardened, so it's actually not a surface hardening treatment.
It's also very dark.
It is a darker color too.
Have you ever had the bracelet?
Yep.
The bracelet is phenomenal.
Like I was just at a meetup with a friend of mine, Mike, and he's got quite a big collection of Damasco, and his crystal on one of his watches is destroyed, like scratched all to shit from the AR coating on the outside, but there is not a mark anywhere on the steel.
Let me tell you something.
Like it is crazy how good their steel.
That AR coating is very strong. Strongest, in my opinion, the strongest in the business.
Mm-hmm.
Once it's scarred or scratched, removing that coating. Oh my God.
I've done it, man.
Yeah, it is.
I have a video on my computer, and it is so cringy. I was going to post it, how to remove AR coating.
Yeah, well, I've done it before. I've done it with all watches, Omegas. I've done it with Breitlings. I've done it with many different watches, and I know how hard it is to take off.
Like with a Dremel?
No. Just poly watch or metal polish, and your thumbs.
I did a Dremel, man.
No, I don't have the balls to do a Dremel
it turned out good, but it looks
a watch. But it takes a long time. But the Damasco, holy cow! It must have taken me 2 hours by hand to remove that thing.
Yeah,
it looked amazing afterwards. Man, the scratch was really visible. It was disgusting looking. Like it made the watch look terrible. So I'm glad I did it. But my God, man,
yeah, not fun. But so my third. Quit interrupting me, Mark. Jeez, you be my
stop talking about cool watches. I need to talk about. Your fault.
So we got the Strom 3650, Damasco's 4400, and then I needed a diver in there, and I found a Doxa Sub 200T for a little over $1,500. It was like 90. I think 95.50 would be my total.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, those little Doxas are really cool.
Yeah, never owned one, always wanted one.
All right, so sky's the limit. I'm really interested to see what you guys came up with, because there's a lot of movement in sky's the limit there. And in fact, I didn't find this one difficult. What I found about this particular category is that I could have gone in so many different directions. So I tried to keep it similar to the others. Get yourself a really great diver, get yourself a really great chronograph, and then something that's just like the conversation piece here. So I went back and forth between the Glashütte CQ and in rose gold, which is about $32,000. But instead, I decided to go with the Omega Seamaster Diver 300M in bronze gold, because there is no way in this lifetime I'm ever dropping $43,000 on a dive watch. And I figure, this might be my only opportunity to own one. So I'm going to go with that. When I saw that watch in Vancouver at the actual boutique, they let me photograph it there. It was on bracelet for one, and they had another one that was on the black strap. Man, on the black strap, that thing is just delicious. It's absolutely fantastic.
How's the weight on the bracelet? Like, must be heavy.
It's heavy. Yeah, you notice it. Since I wear it on my left arm, my bicep would probably catch up to the right. So again, for the chronograph, I was going back and forth between a few things, and then I decided in the end that to follow Andrew McCutcheon's advice. He told us when he was on the podcast that there are just certain days where you want the power that comes with a big brand name. And so I actually went Rolex on this, and I went with the Rolex Cosmograph Daytona in platinum with the ice blue dial. I thought, if nobody sees me coming with that, they're never going to see me coming. So that watch is just insane at 107,000 Canadian dollars. But there were a lot that were in the running for that, but in the end, I just decided to go with the Big Bang. So my last choice. This is a watch I actually had the chance to wear a little bit and to photograph, sort of, at one of RJ Kama's get-togethers down in the Niagara region called, and it was like a Long Night, basically, at a winery down there. And I chose the Long & Sona Datograph up-down flyback. It's got a solid silver dial and also a platinum case. It's absolutely insane. If you turn that thing over and get a look at the movement, I mean, you'd almost wear that watch upside down sometimes. It's again close to $100K for that particular model, and those would be my sky's the limit choices.
Mark, I think I'm going to go next because I feel like you're the grand finale of this.
You know what? I thought I spent a lot of money, but Brent doubled my spending. So.
I took it much easier than Brent on the budget. I was trying to pick stuff that I would actually wear. So one of the watches that's sort of a grail for me is the El Primero. There's a couple of different ones. I have the Chronomaster Revival just for the vintage vibe of that, but there's a number of El Primeros that I like, but that particular one's $13K, 13,600 Canadian, brand new. Gotta have a beater, so I put in the Tudor Pelagos Ultra, 8,550.
It's an expensive beater, man.
And then the big one where all the money went is, and we've talked about this fairly recently, is the VC Overseas Dual Time North White Dial, 58.
I forgot about that one. Yeah, that would have been a good choice too.
That is a great choice.
That's that watch I probably wouldn't wear, but the other two I'd wear. You know what I mean? For sure. Like, yeah. So those are my picks. Mark? Take it away, you crazy bastard.
So I'm going to start with my least expensive watch, and that's the Grand Seiko Yufa Ushio 300 Diver, the new one that just came out this year in blue. That's $16,300. It's so expensive. Why does it have to be so expensive? I love that watch. It's got everything on it. The size is perfect. The material is perfect. The dial is stunning. The hands are great. The accuracy is phenomenal. Power reserve is off the charts. Like, there's nothing left to be desired except for the price. I mean, $16,000 and three. It's just bonkers stupid. But anyways, sky's the limit here.
That's exactly what I paid for my 2011 BMW.
Yeah. Joe, you know what? My first 4 cars didn't add up to that. All right. Next one, I wanted like a bonkers diver. And I didn't care how big it was or how heavy it was. I didn't give a shit. I wanted the biggest, baddest thing I could find. And my first thought was the new Deep Sea from Rolex, when they fixed the proportions of the wrist and all that stuff, and the graded dial that was similar to the James Cameron version. And I was looking at that and I'm thinking, yeah, it's very Rolex-y. And what else is there? And then I remembered the Omega Seamaster Planet Ocean Ultra Deep in Omega Steel with the white dial and blue bezel. I remember handling that watch in Toronto and thinking that is such a cool watch. And so that would be my second choice. That's $18,600. Or Seamaster. Anyways, and it's not even precious metal. I mean, just so that would be my second choice. Now, my last one is my sky's the limit dream. I fall into money, lots of money. It's the Gronfeld 1969 Delta Works rubber clad
Beautiful.
with sector dial for sub-seconds. So it's like the salmon center with the gray on the outside and with the blued hands, the exquisite blued hands. And then when you turn that bad boy over, oh my God, that movement is so beautiful. Oh my God, what a watch. And it's only available on rubber strap, and I wouldn't give a shit. Like that watch is just perfect.
It's good. When?
It's I have always loved that watch from the beginning. I wish it was $80,000. I wish it was. I mean, there's no way in hell that this will ever happen. But I think that's the thing. Now I did something else. I did a neo vintage Sky's the Limit thing for fun. Just 3 watches that I've always wanted since I started collecting watches. Okay, and I'll do this real fast. First one's a Chopard Pro 1 GMT on bracelet. If you've never seen that watch before, go Google it. There's a couple on Chrono 24. That bracelet is a tank tread. Like it's remarkable. It's surprising it's coming from Chopard. And the watch itself, like it's a solid 300-meter dive watch style GMT with a ceramic cap bezel, faceted hands, the Luke movement with a micro rotor. I mean, it's a really special watch. And there's one on Chrono 24 going for $8,200. That's not that bad. Next one I've always wanted was a Luce Nardin marine chronometer diver on bracelet, obviously. But this is sky's the limit, so let's make it all in gold. Solid gold. And I'm going to bring James Fournier's name in again. He has a Torpilleur, Ulysse Nardin, the chronograph in solid gold. And it's just the case that's gold and that little piece that goes on the strap, the rubber strap that's attached to it. They make their bracelets, and that thing.
Oh, he was wearing it he was wearing it one of the days in Montreal at the show on Sunday, I think. Yeah.
So he, that thing weighs a ton, and I've gotten to wear it a couple of times when we get together. So can you just imagine a solid gold bracelet? And from what I understand and what James told me, Ulysse Nardin is one of the only brands that actually makes a full solid gold case. It's not hollow on the inside. It's like thick, solid gold all around. The melt value is probably worth more than the watch itself. But anyways, there's one on Chrono 24 at $43,119. And my last one is a Zenith Rainbow Flyback chronograph in mint condition, in like NOS condition. I would love to have one of those. And they're like anywhere between $4,000 to $8,000, varies like various conditions and so forth. But that's a watch that I've always loved. I had a magazine with it on the cover that I used to keep. I gave it to James Fournier when he bought his flyback. So I kind of lived through him. He recently got it a couple months ago, and I got to play with it when we got together. So I kind of lived through him, and I gave him the magazine. But yeah, that's my neo vintage. You guys, out of all the watches in history, what ones that you've always coveted that you've never had a chance? Is there one or two that you wish you could have?
Ooh.
You know what? Every time people go down this road, I'm always like, what if really the sky is the limit? If we're talking Elon money, how about like the original
Elon money, you buy Rolex.
The actual Paul Newman Daytona, the actual moon watch. You know what I mean? Like, like give me one of those speedies that's actually been up. How much does that cost? And I was calling him crazy.
Well, he is.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, like if I'm really, really honest, the sky's the limit. I just had fun with. But in truth, I think I kind of own a couple of the watches already that I wouldn't do without. And one of them is my Bond Seamaster, the 2531-8.
Yep.
And the other is my Breitling Aerospace. I wake up most mornings, it's just right there. I throw it on my wrist, etc. So I mean, in truth, there are certain things I probably just wouldn't do without, and those two will always be in my collection. Honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, your Seamaster was one of those watches, along with the Ulysse Nardin and the not the Chopard, because that's a little more recent, but the Zenith and the Ulysse Nardin at the time were those three with the Omega were and I managed to get that Omega 98 or 99, and I think I had that watch longer than most watches I've owned, even longer than the Grand Seiko I've had now for 3 years. That was my favorite. I coveted the minute I saw it on screen in James Bond, GoldenEye. I love that watch. It wears like a dream. It's a
Yeah,
perfect
it does.
proportions. It's so
Yeah,
thin.
I don't think people understand because they look at that bracelet and it's kind of a contentious. People love it or hate it, but honestly, that bracelet is so comfortable.
Well, look at the new Seamasters. I think I've said this before, but look at the new Seamaster bracelet, and all of the links are super sharp. Everything's flat. Everything is just so perfectly machined. And if you look at yours, it looks like each link is handmade.
Yeah,
Like
it feels
each
organic.
it feels
absolutely
organic. That's
rounded.
exactly
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
All the individual parts are rounded around the polished bits. It's just it is a work of art. It's, in my opinion, I think one of the best watches ever made.
That's actually a pick for me. The Neo Vintage, not a sky's limit, but a watch that I would love to own someday myself. You know, um, yeah, I've never actually owned a Seamaster at all. That's definitely on the list for me too.
Oh
But
man, I've owed so many.
yeah, I've had a couple of Speedies, but not Seamasters.
I had my favorite was my and it was the watch I wore when my first son was born. It was the Seamaster America's Cup with the white gold bezel.
Mm.
And I love that watch. My God, man, did I love that watch. It was so beautiful. And I remember comparing it at Chateau d'Ivoire downtown to the Blancpain 50 Fathoms, which had also an embossed bezel back in the day. And I compared them side by side, and I actually preferred my Omega. The way the hands looked, the way its shape was made, how thin it was, and that bracelet, man. Yeah, I've had so many. I love them.
Yeah, I actually we talked a little bit about some of the past guests on the that we've had on the podcast. I'm wanting to build this up. I can't wait for Mark to do the list in like another 2 years and see how quick he can get through that one. But how about future guests? Who's the dream guest? I think we did this last year too. Do you guys have a dream guest or guests
Wow.
you'd like to have?
You know, I wonder if my dream guest wouldn't be just outside the watch world, somebody who is maybe, you know, into watches, but like does something else that is truly interesting, whether it's a writer or an explorer of some sort. And so, you know, if we were able to go back in time and have somebody that you couldn't have, it would probably be Jacques Cousteau.
Mm-hmm.
That would be somebody whose, you know, whose life would just be, you know, beyond the pale, absolutely amazing. But, you know, equally amazing, like, because my background comes from writing and education and things like that. One of the guys I would love to have on the show would be Jack Carr, the American writer, you know, of the Terminal List and that whole series that follows.
Yeah.
I'm about halfway through that series. And it's not my normal reading material, but simply I really appreciate his insider knowledge. Like, this is a guy who was a Navy SEAL, and his books are interesting because, you know, you're reading along and everything is redacted, you know, like because he has to submit it to the government, and they actually redact things, and he publishes the manuscript with the blacked out redactions, you know. So I think he would be a wonderful and not unrealistic guest to someday have on the show.
I've heard him on podcasts, and he's awesome, but it'd be cool to sort of get a little bit of a watch angle on things with him too.
Absolutely. Like, all the way through his books, there's like a bit of a Rolex story. There's the watches that his main character wears, etc. So, and he is a watch guy. So I think that would be that's why I would sort of like pick him of the writers that are out there.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to interview Clive Cussler in 2001.
That's just crazy.
Doxa, and I was 2001. I was 26, 27, whatever, how old I was. So yeah, that was really nervous. I'd never interviewed anybody in my life, and I know I've told this story before, but I had reached out just because Doxa was relaunching the Sub 300T. It was going to be in Sahara, and I was writing about the watch, and all of a sudden, his publicist said, Clive Cussler wants to give him a call for an interview. I'm like, well, what? So yeah, that's how that came about. That would be if he was still alive today. I'm trying to get his son to come on.
How long did he give you? Were you on for an hour, half an hour?
Yeah, on his dime too, back when long distance was a thing, right? He called me. Like, I called him, left a message, and then he called me back and was on his dime about an hour. And I had the recording.
You still got it?
No, he sold it to the Clive Cussler Museum or some sort or another. They wanted it for prosperity or whatever.
Wow.
I wonder if I can get it back or if I can get a copy of it, because that'd be cool to publish on this. I mean, he told stories. there. I don't know if you ever read my interview or not, but he told a story about how Clive Cussler's PR guy was on a trip, and there were people from Rolex on that trip, and his publicist was trying to tell him, like, you should talk to Clive Cussler. Maybe he'll put one of your watches in the book. Or like, who's Clive Cussler? They just blew him off, right? And then in the next book, there's a part where a bad guy is wearing a Rolex, and Dirk Pitt dispatches him, and then looks at his wrist, and then the Rolex obviously is broken. And of course, he tells a story, and it's so good, and it's so funny. But as far as
Uh,
dream guests, I mean, I still have Chris Hadfield on my want list. I'm still in touch with his publicist. I send her an email once every 2-3 months, wishing her happy summer, happy spring, whatever, Merry Christmas, and just to keep my name in there. And then at some point, he might not get busy and maybe come on the show. Geddy Lee is always my dream guest. He is a true watch collector and has an amazing collection. And now, after talking to Andy's watches, I want Russell Crowe to come on our show. But I don't know if he'd
Oh,
do
that'd
that.
be awesome. Yeah.
But those are people outside our watch world, right? Within our watch world, I think there's still some people I'd love to get. Jack Forster, which we bounced around talking
yeah,
to each other. I'd
absolutely.
love to have him on. He is charming and the knowledge, and he's been around as long as I have, if not longer. Teddy Baldessar, I don't know if he'd do a podcast or not, but I think it'd be fun to have him on and have him not be that character. Do what we did with Andrew McCutcheon and talk to him for a while and see how he really is and
Mhm.
how he's really like. Tim Masso, I'd love to have him on, and Federico.
Oh yeah, yeah.
From
Yeah,
Federico Talks
Federico would be
Watches.
cool.
I heard him a couple of times on Scottish Watches. He's fascinating, and he tells it how it is, man. It's just it's Federico's way and no other way. So
That's cool.
those are my guys.
I kind of have a left field choice here too, and this it would be Peter McKinnon actually, and in terms of degrees of separation, I'm obviously on pretty friendly terms with Kirk Lippitt, who used to work with him, and Peter was one of those guys that when I was really digging down into photography, I would watch his stuff all the time, and it wasn't
Me too.
because of what I was necessarily learning about photography, but what I was learning about taking risks. And like that guy, he's shot for Red Bull during the solar eclipse, and like he admits it, he didn't really even know what he was doing, but he just gave it a shot. And like look at some of the photographs that guy has come up with as a result. Like I really admire the sort of moxie that he has, and I would love to pick his brain a little bit more personally. So that'd be another one for me.
He's he's somewhat of a watch guy too. I don't know how deep he's
Yep.
in, but he has a good, nice collection of them.
Hey,
For sure.
Brent, if you want, I know the guy who photographed the Red Bull diving in Montreal a couple of years ago. If you want to meet him, I can hook you up.
Yeah, I've heard his name around. Yeah.
For those that are listening and don't know what the reference is, Brent did that photography.
So I had a couple. I always kind of keep Chris Hadfield on the list too, but now we have another Canadian astronaut, Jeremy Hansen. That would
I've
be
reached
cool.
out to his people already.
Did you? And
Yeah.
I know he's been spotted. I was reading up on it actually the other day. He's been spotted with a bunch of different watches, like Citizens, all kinds of different watches on wrist outside of the world of being an astronaut. So he'd definitely be an interesting guy. And then I stumbled on an article and I don't know if this guy would ever be doable, but I stumbled on an article about Jacques Villeneuve a few months ago now, and he just sort of started touching on this collection of racing style chronographs. It's just very surface level in this interview, and I tried to see if there was more stuff on that out there, but I couldn't find anything. So it'd be Jacques Villeneuve would be cool.
Do you know
Former
where he lives
F1
now? Is he in Switzerland
champ.
or he lives in Canada?
I really don't know. I don't know.
That'd be a great guest.
But he's from your neck of the woods there.
Yeah,
Isn't-
absolutely. His
yeah,
dad, when I was a kid, was a hero.
Gilles
Yeah.
Villeneuve. Yep.
Wow, that'd be really cool.
All right. So do you guys have any goals for next year when it comes to the podcast or even outside the podcast with your watch endeavors?
I'll take this one first here.
All right.
As far as goals are concerned, I don't know if it's a goal, but it's like a wish. I love for a breakout moment. Like we're doing well. We've got a following. We've got listeners. We'll share some numbers later on. But we haven't had that one breakout. Like when Scottish Watches was featured on what, New York Times. Ricky told us a story. He says his podcast was chugging along. He's doing his best, and all of a sudden it was mentioned on New York Times, and then phew, I'm hoping that happens to us at some point. Just we put a lot of work into this show. I mean, it's a 2-hour show most times. It's guests, it's preparations, it's only once every 2 weeks, but the three of us have other work that we do, right? And so it'd be nice for it to be a little more popular and reach more people. I'd really love that. Um, the other goal, I don't know if you guys ever thought of it, and I don't think we're at the point where we can do it because of our audience, but someday do a collaboration with a brand, time to calibrate collaboration. Nothing cheesy with maple leafs and stuff on the dial. And something really smart and something really well done with our own personality built into. I'd love to do that at some point. We're not there yet, but that would be a goal I'd love to see for our show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of had the collaboration thing on there too. The Sketchy Boys just did that really cool one with the UDTD, the black with the red display. That looks
looks
awesome,
pretty
man.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, that looks really cool. What about you, Brent?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Like I'm pretty happy with where things are right now, and most of the endeavors that I have on the go. Like the website has grown exponentially in the last 2 years. We just hit a million views on the website, which just
That's because of the podcast.
yeah, that's it. It's all the traffic that comes from the Time to Calibrate podcast. But just to put that in perspective, WordPress runs 43% of all the world's websites. And that's also what powers the Calibrated Wrist. And only 0.1% ever reach a million views. And so I'm very happy with that. Like I when I started it, I don't think I had any illusions of grandeur or anything, but a lot of people read it, and I'm super happy about that. Love the way the magazine is turning out. We've had some really great features. We've had some amazing brands support it, etc. So I think, like, if I were to do something sort of maybe new, and I've sort of begun this, it would be sort of moving into the world of automotive photography. Actually, I'm really enjoying. I did the vintage, the Varak Vintage Grand Prix not too long ago. I was just over, what we mentioned earlier, at Dravana with Daniel Wang, and then I think I'm sort of thinking of maybe doing the Chevrolet Grand Prix, not this weekend, but next weekend. So I'm just really enjoying sort of, I guess, branching out in the kind of photography that I do. So, more lifestyle stuff. So maybe it's not necessarily down the watch road, but it's definitely down one of my other addictions and habits, or hobbies rather. And that would be,
Because you really need more stuff to do.
that's true. Yeah. I'm not busy enough as it is, but I one of my favorite things to do, honestly, and writing, I write every day. Like, I write every day for about 4 hours. But one of my favorite things to do is actually edit photos. It's not even necessarily being on site and the taking of them, but it's the sort of transforming them to present the atmosphere or the mood that I felt at the time of taking that particular photo. So I've noticed that with automotive photography, first of all, there's new gear that's involved, which is, never a bad thing to go down the rabbit hole of gear, as Bob is showing us already today. Yeah. But also that it's a very different process. Taking the shots is a very different process. Certainly, of moving vehicles is a very different process. And then so the editing also is a lot of new challenges. So for me, I guess it would be sort of maybe that expanding of the photographic repertoire. Maybe that's why I want to have Peter McKinnon on the show.
That's kind of a goal for me to take it up a notch, like with the photography stuff for this year. But I think for the podcast, I would love to tick one or two of those guests off the list this year. Or, just somebody like that's sort of outside the sphere, but a known kind of person would be great to have on. And that could be a thing that sort of kickstarts Mark, a little bit,
Yeah, maybe.
But one little thing that I think would be cool that we should do, and Mark, you're like awesome at this, is I'd love to get together some merch at some point in time. I'd be the biggest customer, probably.
You know what? We could do, and I've thought of doing this, just haven't had time to do it yet. The Great NATO uses a service where uh, nothing's pre-made,
Mhm.
right? Doesn't cost you anything. We just design it,
Yep.
and when people order it, you get a small cut of it. I mean, we're not here to make money off merch, but if we can get stuff out, that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Imagine being at a watch show and obviously see somebody walk by with one of your baseball caps on.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty damn cool.
Yeah. 100%.
So I'll look into that. I have some graphics already made and that with the Muppets, that we've made and other stuff. I'll see if I can put something together. I gotta just find out what that is. I think Amazon may do that too. So
There's a bunch
I'll
of
look into
them,
it.
but there's a bunch of services that do that. I think if
Yeah,
you
we
get
can't buy inventory. I don't wanna spend money, buy
yeah,
inventory, and then just sit on it and not sell it,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's gotta be something that
yeah,
low lift on our side.
yeah. Um, so we were talking about a collab that would be a kind of a cool goal, but you were just involved in a watch design. I just wanted to mention this because it just came out. Uh, you were involved with quite a few different people in Imperial Watch Co. and just released a watch in several different colors. Just like was it yesterday or the day before?
Yeah, it was this week. So I'm thinking it was like Tuesday or Wednesday, but yeah, maybe Tuesday.
The
Um,
rangefinder. What
the
was that
rangefinder.
like? How did that all
That
go
was that was out of left field for me too. Like, so I guess the person who sort of kicked it off was Stephen Nichols, who sometimes writes for us too.
Mhm.
He reached out to Ben and said, "Hey, would you be interested in doing a collab that is sort of like blends watches and photography?" And Ben was like totally open to the idea, and so they kind of actively hunted for some other creators who are watch guys, but also photography guys. And so when Ben reached out, and I think also Steven reached out to me too, almost simultaneously, um, I thought, oh yeah, that'd be a lot of fun, and that's all I really thought of it, because a lot of these things, they get kicked around, but they don't ever come to fruition. So when it started to get real was when, they were sending spreadsheets back and forth and images, and we were like commenting, and we had this massive chat group where people were saying, well, yeah, we want hands this way, or no, I don't like that kind of bezel, etc. And so you could make your case. It was a very, very collaborative effort as to how the watch would eventually turn out, right down to like what script appeared on the dial, what the case back looked like, what was inscribed on the case back. Obviously, things like colorways were at play, but even like we had to come to some kind of consensus about hands and some kind of consensus about whether it would be a fume dial or not. And so sometimes you got exactly what you wanted, and sometimes you didn't. And so, in the end, I'm very happy with the way the watch turned out. I really do like the colorway that mine turned out to be. I took from my own point, I took for inspiration the Caribbean version of the Doxa, kind of for its dial and hands and coloring of the hands. But then it was actually Matt from Pandal Watch Collection on Instagram, who does that watch podcast. He has this gorgeous faded bezel. I believe it's a Tudor actually, and I thought that's the kind of bezel I would like to have, to go along with this. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'm very happy with the final result. My watch is on a road trip now. Is it with you right now, Bob?
No, not yet.
I think it's supposed to come to you from Ken from Central Seconds.
Yeah.
So, but in any case, I can't wait to get it back myself, because I actually really like this watch. So it was a lot of fun. It was definitely the idea of collaborating, and sort of also acquiescing and negotiating. I think in the end it made a better watch. So yeah, it was.
And how many guys were involved in that? Like 5 or 6?
5. There were 5.
5,
Yeah.
and you guys each did your own dial.
Yeah,
from what I understand. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
that's cool. That's freaking cool, man.
It's called the Rangeman. Is it have any functionality like the Obscuria from Lotus?
No, it doesn't. And I think that we wanted to avoid that, like the idea that it would actually function in some way for it. Partially because Lotus had already done that. And what else could you really do with a watch
exactly.
that does that? So we certainly didn't want to go down a road that somebody had already done. So it was just the idea, like the name, the rangefinder is a style of camera, and so it was just this, 5 creators who also like, taking photos big and taking part. So yeah, it's more thematic than actual functional, but it is a nice 200-meter diver. So I'm happy with it.
Yeah. Don't tell anybody, but yours is my favorite one of the colors, of the colorways.
Our millions of listeners are going to know now.
Absolutely. Millions upon millions and millions. Speaking of that, you guys want to know some stats? I don't know if you went and looked or not.
I did.
I went and did a little digging. Now, we have to keep in mind the stats that I've collected are from Podbean, and if you go outside of Podbeam and collect the stats from Spotify and iTunes, the numbers don't match up.
I know.
Podbeam is supposed to collect all of those numbers, but it doesn't. But just for the sake of argument, I'm using those numbers. So total amount of downloads. How many think so far in the last 2 years? Total amount of downloads.
I'm going to go with 60,000.
It's a lot less than that.
20,000.
Yeah, you're close. It's 17,300
Okay.
as of last Tuesday. Total listeners,
I have no idea, man.
just under 15,000 listeners, which is
that like individual
respectable.
listeners? Is that what that means?
Yeah, individual
Okay.
listeners. Now, here's the fun part. Top 5 episodes. What do you think? And as far as downloads are concerned, top 5 episodes.
I'm gonna say Andy's watches. Mike Holst,
Didn't make Mike Holst is number 1.
Roger Ruger up there.
Nope.
Andrew McCutcheon must be up there.
Nope.
Mitchell Veen.
Yes, is number 5. Mitchell Ween from Marathon Watch is number 5.
Marshall
Marshall is number 4.
and RJ.
Nope. Someone really popular on YouTube.
Oh, Mad Watch Collector, Russell.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's number 3.
Yeah.
Our number 2 episode is the most surprising. It's our first show.
No
No
way.
Yep.
Is Jody didn't make it on there?
Didn't make it on there.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess I wasn't on that episode. That's probably why.
I was the only one on that episode. That's why. That's why. Neither Brent or Bob were on, so why listen? I interviewed 2 people at the same time too. And it was still fairly new for me. I was nervous as hell. Anyways, and then here's a cool stat that I found on Podbean. How many countries do you think? Now, one download in a specific country counts as a country that's listened to our show. So how many countries do you think have listened to our show?
I'm going to go with maybe 10.
It's a lot more than that.
Really?
Or 45.
It's a lot more than that.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
160.
113
Wow.
Well, that is
countries. If you go look at the
That's
list,
a little crazy.
you see all the flags. It is unbelievable. And I was counting. I kept on
Does
counting.
it
kept on
tell
counting,
you
kept on
what
counting.
country listens the most?
Yes, it's US, Canada, UK,
Okay. Yeah.
Australia,
That's a little bit like our website.
English-speaking
Yeah,
countries.
yeah, okay.
Interesting. Yeah, it's just like the website. Well, surprisingly, and in platforms, iTunes or whatever, Apple Podcasts slightly edges Spotify on total volume. That's according to Podbean. If you look at the actual stats from those places, it might be different. But yeah, and we're according to Listen Notes, and I posted this the other day on Instagram. According to Listen Notes, we are, of all the podcasts, of 3 million blah 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 podcasts out there, we're in the top 10% of podcasts that are being listened to, according to their statistics.
You know, I can't remember who it was that said this to us, but and it might even been more than one person who said it. But it's about sticking with it. You know, I think
Consistency. It was James
more
Stacy.
than yeah,
And you and I were live with him at the marathon
Yeah.
party 2 years ago, and James Stacy said it. He says, if you do a schedule, if it's once every 2 weeks or once a week, whatever it is, you stick to that schedule. And we haven't missed an episode so far,
that's true.
and it's very important. People like, if we're not out on Monday, well, we haven't not been out on Mondays, but I know how I listen to podcasts. I look forward to certain days when things come out to listen to those shows, and if they're not there, it bothers me. Like there's this show that I listen to, it's a Star Trek show, go figure, called Mission Log, and these guys are actually part of the Roddenberry group, and they started watching Star Trek over from the first episode ever, and like deep diving of the morals, meanings, and messages of each show, of all of Star Trek until today. So this started, I don't know, 13 years ago or something like that, and I've been listening, following along with it, and now they just finished Voyager, and they're going to start Enterprise, but they've taken a hiatus because one of the hosts fell ill, and they're trying to find a replacement. So it's been out of my life now for a couple months, and it's really bothering me because that's been part of my listening schedule for years and years and years. I started listening to that show from the very beginning.
I feel the same way about the Grey NATO. Like I look forward to every Thursday, and they're very good about telling you when there won't be an episode because of course they both lead busy lives, and but
sure.
it doesn't matter. Come that Thursday that it doesn't drop, I'm like, oh man, I'm missing out on my Grey NATO today.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you're right. Consistency. James Stacy told us that a couple of years ago. Very, very important. So those are the stats, guys.
Wow.
So we've gathered some listener questions. There aren't very many, but they're quite good. This one's from Watch Six though on IG, Instagram. If you could go back in time, what advice would you give your younger selves?
My wife and I actually had this conversation before we got married when we first met, and we've tried to live by this. Ever since we've been together, we try to always have something to look forward to. The big one is travel. So when that next trip is done, we're sort of already looking off to the next thing. So there's always something on the horizon that's, fun and entertaining and brings us together. And sometimes shit falls apart, but but that's how we try to live our life, and it's been for the most part a good thing. What do you guys? Maybe that's a little too deep. I don't know, but
Well, I don't know. Mine's pretty deep too, actually. I think that honestly, for me, I would go back and I would tell that person to be more like your 18-year-old self. Like when I was 18, I left high school a year early. Like I did that fast tracking thing, and I decided to go backpacking in Europe. And like people have to understand what Europe was like, for an 18-year-old who is now 53 years old, right? Like you there was no internet. You had to sort of get a book, and maybe the addresses of the telephone numbers were good, or maybe they weren't. Everything you did was a long distance telephone call. So like basically you were traveling when you're backpacking, traveling blind most of the time. And I think of my 18-year-old self, that was a pretty risky thing to do. I came from a small town. I'd only ever been out of the country once before in my entire life, and it was on a high school trip to Spain and Portugal. Which is what, gave me the travel bug. So having done that for 3 months with just a backpack and some money I saved up, it was a pretty risky thing. And there were some opportunities I had along the way that I wish I had seized upon. I was offered a job in Germany. I was offered a place in a Volkswagen Westphalia van to travel through Turkey and all the way to the Far East. And those are things that I didn't do. And I would like to go back to that person and say, you know what? Don't be afraid to take those kinds of risks. I came from a family that didn't have an awful lot of money. So after I got out of university, I had a lot of debt and I needed a really good job. I became a teacher. I have no regrets. I had a 27-year amazing career, but I also think about what I'm doing now and how happy I am with what I'm doing now. So I say to that person, you know what, maybe take a bigger risk, do that creative thing, that bit of journalism that you might have really wanted to do, etc. So it would be about taking risks. Don't be afraid to do that. Life is not a race. So that would be me.
Well, you guys kept it to actual real life stuff. I did watch stuff, but I agree with both of you, Bob. Looking forward to traveling, looking forward to, or setting goals and things that you are looking forward to.
Yeah,
keeps you going, and we do the same. My wife and I and our family. As far as traveling Europe, I did Europe as well when I was 17, backpacking through England, France, and Italy. And yeah, man, just a whole lot of waiting and a whole lot of boredom between places because those 12-hour bus rides or the train is long when you don't have an iPhone to scroll through.
What did we
But
do?
yes, you're traveling blind. In 1999, my wife and I traveled to Western Canada from Montreal, and we bought a book that, like you said, had phone numbers of places, expensive, mid-range, quality, like best bang for your buck, places to eat, places to stay. And we just packed a car and just started driving west. No plan, no GPS, a freaking map, like an atlas map that I had for work that I used at all the highways. And we just we made our all the way to Banff, went to Jasper and came right back. And that was the trip. It was, fly by the seat of your pants, taking a chance out of all this stuff. And it was one of the best adventures we ever had. Our honeymoon, for crying out loud, in 98, we had tickets to get to Athens. That's it. We landed in Athens. My wife spoke to the taxi driver in Greek, so we wouldn't get played. Brought us to the Plektia where all the hotels are. We found the hotel. And then from there, we booked the next island and the ferry and the place. And then we booked the car. And then all by the seat of our pants adventure. That was how it was back then. It was a lot of fun. Now, as far as going back in time, if I would go back in time, I'd go back to my younger self and tell myself to go buy all the Nautiluses and all the Royal Oaks I could find. And then I let myself know that there'd be a worldwide pandemic someday. And then people would become really stupid and pay six figures for these watches. So I would do
That's the
that. But in all
smartest
seriousness,
advice you could have given of all of us, probably, really.
in all seriousness, though, if I could go back to my younger self when I started collecting watches, and especially at the very beginning when things were more affordable, right? Oris for $400. You can get a Seamaster Pro for $700 or Rolex for under 2,000, $1,500, is to enjoy the watches that I had. Because I was started writing about watches and brands weren't actively lending watches out. Uh, I was always trying to get the next one so I can write my next story or write my next review or, and the hunt was so much fun back then. And I made so many friends over the years by trading watches with people all over the world, not just the US and Canada. I've traded people with Japan, Sweden, the UK. Like I've done trades all over the place, but I never really got to fully enjoy a lot of these watches. And looking back, there's some that I wish I'd have back or I had more time with. And I'm getting a little better at that now. I'm still actively trading all the time. You guys know that. But I am spending more time with multiple watches and I'm wearing different ones every other day. So I'm starting to do that more. But I would, cherish what you have and spend a little more time with people and things. And that's my advice there. So Watch Sixto also asks, what watch would you trade for any other watch you have been eyeing? That's a weird question. That's going to be tough.
I wasn't sure how to what that quite meant, but I can tell you that I am making a trade probably this weekend and I just got a watch from a trade. I have one of the Ninja Tunas.
Okay.
I can't remember.
You're just combining two Seiko nicknames now and making up a new watch.
But so I had that Zin 157 and I ended up doing a trade without like a couple of years ago with a friend of mine, Ian. You guys probably know Ian, Cognito on Instagram. And I've wanted one back ever since. And another guy that I know has the titanium. I had the steel, and I'm trying to work a deal. It's going to be cash on my end too for the tuna for his 157 cash or another watch. So we're in the middle of the negotiation process right now. But that's a trade that's going to go
mine
now.
is a kind of interesting one, maybe. Because it would be swapping for the same brand, but within the same price bracket. So I own a Rado Anatom, and I originally got that watch because it reminded me a lot of my father and the style of watch that he would have liked. Could he have afforded that sort of thing? But I realized that I just don't wear dressy watches very often, and so I don't get as much wear out of it as I would like. But my favorite collection by far amongst Rado's watches is the Captain Cook, and I love the idea of having something that is high-tech ceramic because that's what they do. You know what I mean? That's quintessential Rado. So I would love to swap that. It's pretty much dollar for dollar with one of their high-tech ceramic divers, actually. I took one of their divers diving in Tobermory on what's called the Four Tugs, which is a beautiful, beautiful crystalline waters. But I remember wearing it on my wrist and thinking, man, this is a beautiful watch, especially down here. So yeah, I would swap the Anatom for the Captain Cook high-tech ceramic and be very happy about that, I think.
Yeah, that's a cool watch. They look really nice. I never spent a lot of time with any of the Rados, but the Captain Cooks were really cool. I remember when traveler's checks were a thing?
Oh my God, yeah.
And I think that American Express had Captain Cook checks or something like that. Isn't there something historically bad about that, dude?
Well, yes. Unfortunately, the name these days, because of what has treatment of indigenous people, I think when he discovered islands, quote unquote, but yeah. So the name is these days, I suppose, politically incorrect. So that part is definitely unfortunate about the name of the watch, but I don't think the name of the watch has much to do with the people producing it now.
No, of course not.
But for me, what I really like about their high-tech ceramic divers is that they're unapologetically large. Like they're 43 millimeters. They're beefy.
Sure.
You really feel it on your wrist. And when you're down below that gorgeous dome that is in the middle of that concave stadium style bezel, just looks fantastic. It's just like underwater. It's fantastic.
Isn't that what Adam Craniotis was wearing during the show we recorded?
I think
I think it was a skeleton
it
version of that.
was a skeletonized version of the high-tech ceramic Captain Cook. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
cool. So what I would do, because I mentioned this watch before, the Zenith Rainbow Flyback, if I would trade away my Findyson Nautic Master and my Eterna Contiki Bronze for one of those in mint condition. I've always wanted one. I've never had one. I've played with James Fournier's version a couple weeks ago, and I can't stop thinking about it ever since. So I don't know. Maybe I'll sell those and try to find one. It's just finding one in perfect condition. You know what I mean? When something's that old, and the El Primero movement may be fantastic, maybe the first chronograph, but it's not the most robust movement in the world. So to have one that's working in perfect condition, I mean, James went all out and bought one that had just been refurbished by Zenith, paperwork included, from Japan. But his import fees were ridiculous, and so, anyways, that's what I would do.
I think you just have to plant that bug in his ear when it's your birthday coming up.
Well, he sent a message saying that it might be up for sale. It's just I don't want to purchase anything right now, and I'm still liking the Eterna Contiki right now. I'm not ready, and Aaron is making me a strap for that watch, so I'd be very fortunate if I get rid of it and all of a sudden, hey, Mark, here's the strap I made for you. I'm like, oh no, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna wait, but that would be the dream trade right now.
So the next question is from our good friend Sean Bush. Who is your favorite marathon authorized dealer?
Roll
Gotta be Roldor.
Gotta be Roldor. Hey, in fact, you know what? I just saw that Bezel House in Calgary is going to be carrying, Marathon too. So, Bezel House, Roldor.
It's unquestionably Bush Outdoors. Unquestionably Bush Outdoors.
Absolutely.
That guy goes the extra mile. He's got a Jeep that's made up with marathon decaling and he goes right to your door to deliver you that watch. I mean, he is the Amazon of marathon. Like it's,
no, he's quality.
Yeah.
He's quality.
I missed it even through a big barbecue with a bunch of
I know. I wish I could have made it up
last week. I just conflicted too, but yeah, Sean's awesome, man. Love hanging out.
He came to our meetup that we did at the hockey rink a couple of weeks ago, right before the Montreal Timepiece show, the Thursday before, and he brought his, he brought like AstroTurf to put on his table to display the watches on. It was so cool, and he had all the flags and he had marathon game swag to give to our guests and stuff. It just salt to the earth, dude. I love the guy. Every time there's a marathon party, I always hang out with him, have drinks.
Did you see he had that I can't remember, it was a G or JSAR probably. With who makes that bracelet?
Yes,
Leatherman. Oh, Leatherman. Yes, the leather.
I think it was Leatherman.
So that is crazy.
Yeah, the Leatherman tool bracelet that has, an Allen wrench all around the bracelet that goes all around your wrist.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, the bracelet itself probably like 300 or 400 grams or something. It's ridiculous. On top of the jumbo star, it was this massive knuckle buster thing.
I loved it.
And Sean at the Vancouver Timepiece show at the marathon event on the Sunday night, we were all hanging out and we were just talking about the challenge coins and stuff that we'd gotten. And, he gives away these challenge coins. This year's was was this guy here from Marathon with the Phil's EDC knife on the back that he was giving out to everyone. And we were just talking and he pulled out of his pants a coin, guys, a coin. He pulled out this coin here for the Bloor Brantford division for the TTC line.
Yeah.
Because he's a train conductor for the Toronto Transit Commission, and it's a coin he had made with Saint Christopher, I think, on the back, the traveling saint for patron saint for travelers, and he gave it to me. And this is look how thick this is. This is a beautiful coin, heavily embossed, and the halo around Saint Christopher is actually illumined, which is cool. So I'm really grateful. I mean, I love that guy. He's salt of the earth. And if anybody's looking for a marathon watch, you got to get a hold of Sean Bush.
Yeah.
That's your guy.
Yeah, 100%. So Steve Thorpe asks, probably well known by many, but not me. How and when did you three meet? I think it was like a gradual thing. I remember I got to know Mark a little bit because you started that Instagram group. What was that called again? The Canadian Guild?
Yeah, the Canadian Watch Guild. Yeah, I started that years ago, with all the Canadian brands, including Jason
and some of the content guys
all of
too.
them.
Like so I kind of got to know you then a little bit, just totally surface level. The first time me and Brent met in person was actually at one of RJ's functions, I think.
Yeah.
And we'd known each other, so it was sort of like a slow burn. The first time we'd all actually met together was at the first Toronto Timepiece show, and it was Jason that was discussing with Mark. Mark was expressing some interest in doing the podcast, and I think Jason sort of really connected the three of us together.
Yeah, that's exactly
initially,
right.
Yeah. But Mark's the one with the idea, like to get this thing going to begin with, and then it didn't take long, and we started doing it pretty quickly after we had those first couple of calls.
Yeah, we. I had the idea of I've always wanted to do podcasts. I'm again voracious podcast listener, and I thought I could do it, and I didn't want to do it by myself. And Jason and I were just chatting on Instagram about whatever, I don't know what, but just how Jason is. You just talk to him about anything all the time.
Mhm.
And I said, would you know anybody that'd be interested in doing that? I said, what do you think of? And I suggested Bob, because you're already on YouTube and you already have a bit of a following and a known quantity and a distinctive voice. And he said, nothing worse than listening to a podcast where the hosts all sound very similar.
Mhm.
And I think the three of us sound very different from the three, each of us.
100%, yeah.
It gets really polished with Brent, then it gets a little stupid with me, and then
Even
Bob,
stupider.
it's just more no, not stupid, more like the laughing and the the joking and the levity. So, yeah, comic relief is what I mean. But so I asked Jason about Bob, and he says, "Yeah, Bob would be good." And he says, "You should talk to us." He says, "Talk to Brent. He's retiring soon. He's probably gonna have a lot of time on his hands." Boy, was Jason ever wrong about the time on his hands part. But so I got a hold of the two of you guys real quick, and then we scheduled a face call, talk to each other. And it was like within a week we had bought mics from Amazon, and we were sitting down and recorded our first show. And by the time this was like in July of 2024, and then we were all going to the Toronto Timepiece show in September. And right before the Toronto Timepiece show, we had just recorded with Ricky from Scottish
That's
Watches.
right.
And that was in the can to drop on the Monday after the Toronto Timepiece show. And I remember being at the show and people coming up to us say, "Hey, listen to the show." Alain Lecomte, our friend Alain.
And that was really early.
Came up to me. That was really early. And I was like, wait till Monday. We got a great guest on Monday. It's Ricky from Scottish Watches. And so that's how it all started. And like you said, the first time we met was at the Toronto Timepiece show in person.
Mhm.
And that's how that all started. Alex, our dear friend from the Watch You Talking About podcasts, asks, and these are good questions. What's one opinion you've completely changed your mind on because of the podcast? Could be about watches, collecting, or even podcasting itself. And what conversation or guest was responsible for changing it? I struggled with this one.
Me too. I think because I don't feel like I've had like a big gigantic like epiphany on anything, except for what it takes to make a podcast, and learning as we go by having some podcasters on there and hearing their process, guys like Andrew McCutcheon. Just realizing that what it takes to get to do this and do a good job at it has been a learning curve. So my opinion has changed because I thought it was going to be way easier than it has been, but still a lot of fun though. But I don't know. What did you guys have for that one?
For me, actually, it was Andrew McCutcheon, and he I don't know if you guys remember this, but he was talking about that "if you know" thing, and how he hated that, and how he thought that people who were treated everything like an insider handshake, that was actually alienating people from the watch collecting hobby. And it's not because I was one of those guys, but it made me realize something very important about, for example, the Calibrated Wrist website. And that was that we didn't have a lot of material on there that was just for absolute beginners. So, like we use words like, chronograph and flyback and stuff like it. There's nothing there. But some people don't even know what a chronograph is, let alone a flyback chronograph. So I sort of invested time heavily in writing these very foundational articles for the website, like, you know, a watch buying guide and stuff I wouldn't normally do. But I thought, you know, there are people out there who really, really want to hear this. Chronographs explained, what is a tool watch, etc. And so now when I write a new article, or even when one of our writers writes a new article, I can just put in that hyperlink. If the word chronograph pops up, I can just put the hyperlink in there. So if they don't know what a chronograph is, they can just go directly to that article. If they don't know what a dive watch is, they can go directly to that article. And so just him saying that made me realize, you know, if you want the hobby as a whole to be successful, inviting, and move forward and grow, then, you know, you could be part of the solution too. And so that for me was probably a bit of a eureka moment.
It's funny because Rob Anderson said the complete opposite during the podcast. He said that when he was moderating the Rolex forum on Reddit, that, or whatever, it's not a forum, it's the Reddit subreddit, what the fuck it's called. Anyways, he he was saying that he wouldn't dumb things down or not explain. He figures if you're reading this or you're listening to this and you don't know, he's relying on people to actually do some research on their own and look up what these terms are for. He wouldn't dumb down flyback.
No, but he did say that he did put in hyperlinks to other
Yes.
articles. So yeah,
Yes.
and we don't either. Like we don't dumb down what we're saying, because you can't every single article explain what a chronograph is. But I think the most important thing is to give people access if they need it, rather than have them go off and explore on their own. I remember, for example, Mark, you've been in this for ages, but not me. You know what I mean? Like I've always loved watches, but I didn't understand the depth of watch enthusiasm or watch collecting until around 2017. And I remember when I started my Instagram account a little bit later, like I didn't know what WIS was, or like what's on your wrist, WOYW. And so I remember thinking, well, I can't ask somebody this. They're going to think I'm a noob, an idiot, you know? So I really liked what Andrew said about that, in the sense that, you know, like it shouldn't be, not that you can't have those things, but it shouldn't be an exclusive community that holds everybody at bay. And then, you know, that there's some kind of gatekeeper or whatever. So I really liked that piece of advice.
And just so you know, a chronograph is like a stopwatch, and a chronometer is like a certification for accuracy.
Oh,
So chronometer, chronograph. Gotcha. But as far as opinions changing or something that jarred me or we've learned from, I'm an opinionated person. You all know that.
No,
I'm a hard-headed person. You all know that. So I don't think I've changed much opinions. I mean, NATO straps suck and they will always suck, and they're never going to stop sucking. So that won't change. As far as people's conversation that really sparked, I think Errol Adams' conversation. There was a couple of times when he was talking that we were like, oh my God, that's just great. And I know for a fact that there was a story he told us, can't remember the story. There was something he was telling us, and then you and I looked at each other going, can you believe we're recording this? So him, Andrew McCutcheon, and there's a conversation, I mentioned this before, with James Stacey at the marathon event where we were asking advice for podcasting.
Mm-hmm.
And just the advice that we should work with individual tracks instead of trying to edit the whole track with all the voices at the same time. I remember, and we were lubricated at the time. And we're looking at each other going, you can do that?
It's the little things.
Yeah, the little
Yeah.
things. But yeah, those are the advice that we have, or we gotten.
yeah. Well, guys, I think that's a wrap on this one. And we don't do a lot of hostful episodes, but this one was really worth it, I think, to take a look at what we've achieved over the last 2 years and maybe dream a little bit about what we want to achieve in the coming year. And really, today was a show that's full of thanks. Thanks to our guests, obviously thanks to our listeners, but also thanks to us as colleagues for sticking it out, for pulling it off, no matter what life has thrown our way over the last 2 years. Like you say, Mark, we have never missed that Monday morning release, and that takes a lot of commitment. And so
might have dropped one early one.
I do remember a Sunday drop, but anyway. But you know what? We're going to be back again in 2 weeks, of course, and we're going to kick off season 3 in style. We've got a fellow Canadian, James Stacey, on deck. You may have heard of him. He does this little podcast called The Great NATO, or perhaps you've heard of that little online concern he steers. It's called Ho Dinky. Anyway,
you never know. It could be our best episode yet. Bye, everybody. See you soon.
Bye, everybody.
The Time to Calibrate podcast is a bi-weekly show and is available wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a question or a comment? Email us at timetocalibrate@gmail.com, or you can find us on Instagram at timetocalibrate. If you haven't given us a follow or a review yet, please do so. This helps platforms recommend us to like-minded listeners. You can also follow us individually on Instagram. I'm at Mark Time to Watch. Bob is at Time to Go 1978, and Brent is at Caliber 321. Also, be sure to check out Bob's Time to Go Travel and Timepieces YouTube channel, and be sure to visit thecalibratorist.com for all your watch-related news, editorials, and reviews. Lastly, if you like our show, do tell a friend. Heck, tell lots of friends. We'd greatly appreciate it. That's it for now. T2C out.